Thank you, sir. Good morning, Conference Chair, Mr. Bharatha, ladies and gentlemen. The research that I have conducted is titled as The Efficiency of Plastic Waste Management in the Apparel Industry. Managing of waste can be a very challenging task in the apparel industry, mainly because they have to deal with various kinds of waste, wide variety in brief, and very large volumes of waste. The reason why I selected the aforesaid industry is mainly because the apparel industry is Sri Lanka's largest export industry since 1986, and it had been the country's largest net foreign exchange earner since 1992. The need for an efficient and a sustainable system is highlighted in the apparel industry mainly because of the observation of a rapid movement in the industry. And why I selected plastic waste management is because there had been a reported increase in the plastic waste generation in almost all the industries in the recent past. The outline of my presentation will be as follows. And the introduction, as I mentioned before, why I selected plastic waste management out of all the types of waste generated is supported by the studies of Siddiqui in 2013, where he stated that only between 5 to 25% of the plastic waste generated is being recycled, whereas to the rest of the percentage, a proper structured process is not yet being utilized. Hence, various approaches and strategies will be used to manage plastic waste in the apparel industry, which would otherwise mainly be dumped into the landfills and eventually will contaminate the environment and pollute the environment. Also, Wickramasinghe highlighted in 1996 that waste minimization is in its infancy in the garment industry, mainly due to the extremely low disposal costs for waste. People won't be bothered to have a structured waste management system because due to the low cost, they will straight away go and dump the waste into the landfills. And he also highlighted that there is a significant potential for reducing the total quantity of waste generated by the industries by adopting techniques of minimization. The scientific problem that I am going to highlight is to identify the relationship between the identified independent variables and the dependent variables and how it will cause an impact to the efficiency of the plastic waste management, thus eventually reducing the amount of plastic waste generated from the 4 independent variables. And the literature review, my findings was supported by the previous authors such as Jackson in 2015, where he found that there is a positive relationship between the design for environment, quality management, innovation and environmental performance in the US manufacturing companies. So that's why I took the product design as one of the independent variables of my study. And also according to Womack and Jones in 1996, lead time compression has been receiving increasing attention by the researchers. Also, I need to mention that lead time during the last decade, the lead time compression has been receiving increasing attention by researchers, mainly because of its potential to generate competitive advantage in the supply chain, which is one of the vital aspects when it comes to the supply chain. Also, according to Jaber in 2003, he determined that there is a chance or a possibility that the process can go out of control, thus generating more defective items, which definitely need to be reworked. And he also highlighted that this happens in many of the practical scenarios in almost all the industries. And in 1999, Gerard has highlighted that there exists a validity on the possibility of a process going out of control, thus leading to deviations from the normal routine, and hence efforts need to be taken to rework the defective items that will be created due to the processes going out of control. Also, Tanima in 2010 paved the way on the in-depth features of breakdowns from a process-oriented perspective. And in 2001, according to Abud, he derived a conclusion based on his studies that the inventory of finished goods are normally carried out as safety stocks because the production system is normally subjected to a stochastic breakdown, and this production inventory that is associated with random machine breakdowns is a difficult problem to deal with. Thus, the impact of the machine or system breakdown for operations of the system was highlighted under the current study. So that was a brief introduction on the previous studies relevant to the independent variables that I have considered under the research that I conducted. And the research gap that is highlighted under this study is to identify the process of plastic waste management and factors in consideration with the improvement of process of plastic management exhibit a potential relationship among each other, which laid the foundation pertaining to my study. So what I want to highlight is that whether the production lead time, design of the product, revolves and system breakdowns, which were identified as the 4 independent variables, can cause an impact on the plastic waste management, which is the dependent variable of my study in the apparel industry, and how it will cause an impact to the efficiency of the output, and overall how it can minimize the plastic waste generated due to the by controlling these 4 independent variables. A conceptual framework was generated based on the literature review as such. And the conceptual framework was developed and the theoretical explanations were given based on the literature review of the previous research findings. And the conceptual framework was derived deductively. The research methodology that I followed is based on positivism, and the strategy related to the current study is based on survey methods such as questionnaires, semi-structured questionnaires and interviews. And the choice of the research was based on a mixed method where I used both qualitative and quantitative components, but mostly the bulk of the research was based on a quantitative aspect. The sample profile, the total population was the people who are engaged in the apparel industry, and out of that a sample of 50 was selected where simple random sampling method was used to gain a diverse and a balanced sample. The questionnaire was distributed with the sample randomly chosen from the population, and the rationale behind selecting simple random sampling as the basis for my study is also inconsistent with Wickramasinghe in 1996. For my data collection and analysis, a 5-point Likert scale was structured, ranging from 1 to 5, where the responses range from strongly disagree to strongly agree. And in my study, both the primary data and the secondary data was used, where the primary data was gathered through a structured questionnaire, and secondary data was obtained through the publications of the apparel industry with regard to the apparel industry. And all the questions were close-ended, where the respondents were to select a single option out of the 5 points in the Likert scale. And the results that I obtained from the Likert scale, I linked it to the results obtained from the regression analysis was linked to the 5-point Likert scale by selecting a range of values that corresponded to the points within the Likert scale. And mainly IBM XPSS was used for my data analysis purpose. And the results of the regression analysis, a positive relationship was identified between the product design and plastic waste management with a regression of 8.31%, and revolves and plastic waste with a regression of 8.21%, And between lead time and plastic waste management, the regression obtained was 1.28%, where a weak positive relationship was indicated. And between the system breakdowns and plastic waste management, 0.17% was obtained, thus indicating a weak positive relationship. Thus, it can be said that all the independent variables identified in the study showed a positive influence on the plastic waste management process in the apparel industry. Moving on to the discussion. Jackson in 2015 found that there is a positive relationship among the product design and product design in the US manufacturing companies, as I mentioned before. Thus, the product design should be developed by considering the environmental considerations, allowing the least possible negative environmental impacts. And the correlation coefficient was 0.288 at a significant level of 0.05. And in 1995, according to Gopalan and Agnihotri in 1995, they indicated that most of the manufacturing processes are subjected to defects which can create rework within the processes. Thus, based on the numerical value obtained from the analysis, it can be said that a confident agreement was made that there is a positive relationship between the above mentioned two variables, that is the reworks and plastic waste management. And according to Bertolino in 2007, he proposed two main approaches to achieve lead time reduction, and both the approaches were successful in the apparel industry. And based on the coefficient correlation value obtained, a positive relationship which is not a strong nor a weak relationship was obtained in my study. And in 2001, Abud found out that inventory of the finished goods are normally carried out as safety stocks, mainly due to the reason that the production system is subjected to breakdowns, as I mentioned before. And the Pearson correlation coefficient that I got was 0.041, which also depicted a positive relationship which was not significant as the previous relationships that I found. Thereby, the Pearson correlation coefficient was significantly positive only for product design and reworks, whereas it was a positive relationship was obtained for the remaining independent variables. Thus, it can be said that there exists a positive relationship between the independent variables that I identified with the dependent variable. Moving on to the conclusion. Based on the statistical tools, the Pearson correlation coefficient related to all the independent variables and the dependent variable indicated a weak positive relationship. Thus, the conclusions reached by the study supported the hypothesis because based on the analysis there exists a positive relationship. And moving on that note, I would like to move on to the final slide of my presentation, which is the recommendations. It was deeply observed through the analysis that a research approach which was more qualitative in nature, if a research approach which was more qualitative in nature would have been followed, more accurate results could have been obtained and could have expanded the scope of the research that I undertook. And also, this can be regarded as an initial exploration of the interaction between the factors affecting the efficiency of the process of plastic waste management. And by expanding the current study base, the number of respondents, the number included in the sample profile, and with a greater number of statistical tools, an opening will be created for future viable research studies. So what I want to highlight is that the identified four independent variables, if the plastic generated between those four processes can be minimized, it can improve the efficiency of the overall plastic waste management in the apparel industry. Thus, it can lead to need to generate a more proper and a structured way of managing the plastic waste rather than just dumping it into the landfills and contaminating the environment. And overall, it can improve the efficiency of the output and can lead to lean management concept as well. Thank you for your cooperation.